It is now 7:12, so we'll begin. If you are interested in signing up for open forum, please fill out the QR code. My name is Isabella Agbasi. I'm the Vice President-elect of the Student Government, and I'll oversee this assembly until a speaker is selected. Just make sure that people on Zoom can see my screen. So yeah, if you want to do open forum, please fill out the QR code. But the first order of business is roll call for attendance. We're going to use this for attendance. Do you have access to it?
I showed it to you. Gotcha.
Just one moment, I apologize. We're getting up the roll call.
Go ahead and do the roll call right now while I get this set up on Leland's thing.
Oh, let me do it? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we will now start the roll call. When you hear your name, please say present so that we can mark you down.
Okay. Walker Adams.
Here. Present. Sorry.
No, you're good again.
Kennedy Bailey. Sarika Balakrishnan. Satish Bandara.
Present.
Braxton Cannon.
Here.
Representative Kate Chiapetta. Representative Kate Chiapetta, are you here? All right. Representative Ainley Sindrick. Representative Reese Klassen.
Here.
Representative Diego Palazzo. Representative George Kuatamos.
Here.
Representative Alexander Feinstein. Representative Allison Fernandez. Representative Reese Fearman.
Here.
Representative Helen Gichichu. Representative Alex Gonzalez.
Here.
Representative Seth Greenwald.
Yep. Here.
Awesome. Representative James Helamek.
Present.
Representative Eric Hayes.
Present.
Representative Joseph Hoshing.
Here.
Representative Gerald Holman.
Present.
Representative Jackson Didell.
Present.
Representative Junagar Sahil.
Present.
Representative Amelia McGill.
Present.
Representative Zachary Moore.
Present.
Representative Sterling Mosley.
Present.
Representative Brian Pena.
Here.
Representative Kevin Roberts.
Here.
Representative Sierra Ryan.
It's actually Kira.
Kira. Representative Kira Ryan.
Here.
Representative Jolene Sanchez.
Present.
Representative Avery Simathambi.
Present.
Representative Adrian Tristan.
Present.
Representative Enbar Turzaman. Representative Jacob Villanueva.
Here.
Representative Marlene Weiss.
It's Marlena.
Marlena, thank you so much.
Are you fixing it?
Representative Dadrian Whittington.
Present.
Awesome. And with that, we've
You say that right?
we've hit quorum.
Yeah, since we have at least 23 representatives present, we have met quorum and we can move forward with the swearing in process. But before I do so, I just want to make sure, is there anyone's name that I did not call? Okay, with that being said, I'll now call on Chief Justice Hastings to conduct and oversee the oath of office for the student government president and vice president. Chief Justice here. Or is there someone here to do the swearing-in process in her place if she's not here?
I'm a member of the Supreme Court.
Oh, so you can do the swearing-in, perfect, okay.
Sure, I'm not exactly sure what to do. I just came here to watch, but
Okay. I was under the impression that the chief.
I have a point of information. So anyone at the Supreme Court can read it. She just needs the Constitution open.
Okay, so did you hear that?
Here.
I did not.
You
Can
can
you-
read it
can you
out. You just
project
need the
more?
Constitution open to read it out to them.
Okay, let me let me pull that up.
I'm so sorry, I apologize. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, you're totally good. What section did you want me to read?
Control F to look up both of them.
You can also go into it.
Article 10, section 10.2.
Article 10, section 10.2. Okay. Awesome. Pulled up. All right. If
Perfect.
you're being sworn in, are y'all ready?
Yes.
Here we go first.
All right, cool. If you're being sworn in today, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Isabella Gbasi,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
You solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the office of
faithfully
execute
execute the office of
whatever your position is that you're being sworn.
student government president
vice president
Of the University of Texas at Austin Student Government.
of the University of Texas.
And will to the best of my ability.
will to the best of
And
our
will to the best of my ability. Sorry. Preserve, protect, and defend
Preserve, protect,
protect
and defend
the Constitution of the student government.
the Constitution of the student government.
Congratulations.
Did you get it? We did it. We did it. It's good. Yeah. No, let's reconsider it on the next slide.
And I also need you to do it for the representative as well. So do you think you could do that?
Okay, cool. For representatives. Hi, there's a lot of you, so I'm hoping all of you can hear me. All right, please raise your right hand.
Stand up and raise your right hand.
Let's
Yes.
go, representatives.
Woo! That's my.
All right. If everyone's ready, raise your right hand. I state your name. Y'all's audio is cutting out, so I cannot tell. I'm just gonna give y'all a couple seconds after I say each thing to repeat it.
Okay.
All right. Yes, also Zoom people. Okay. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of whatever representative position you're being sworn in for.
Faithfully execute the office of architecture representative.
Of the University of Texas at Austin Student Government.
University of Texas at Austin Student Government.
And will to the best of my ability.
And will to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the student government.
The Constitution of the student government.
Congratulations, y'all.
Okay.
Well, we gotta consider it.
If you would like to speak at open forum, please fill out the link and I'll be calling up speakers in the order of who signed in first.
No one cares. Oh, you got two. Maybe it's in a boat. It'll be okay. No, it doesn't get two. Two will be okay. Just send it. Like, you can send it to my mom. Send it to Allie, actually. Yeah, send it to Allie.
Seeing as there are no open forum speakers, we will now start the election for the Speaker of the Assembly. Oh, there was no one.
I think Gerald just did it. Yep. Oh wait, mine.
So. Sure.
Oh, I just filled out the form actually for open forum.
Oh yeah. Okay, I see it. Perfect. Give me one moment. So our first speaker is from the Supreme Court, Maya Mackey. The speaker will have 2 minutes to speak, and then the time will start whenever you are ready.
Awesome. Hi, really quick. I just wanted to introduce myself to you all since, you know, we have new representatives, which is super exciting. My name is Maya Mackey. I'm one of the associate justices on the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, our Chief Justice couldn't be here today. But yeah, for any constitution document related stuff, Supreme Court is the go-to for student government. So just wanted to introduce myself in case y'all ever need to reach out about legal stuff. Please feel free to email Caroline with, you know, any legal requests, any concerns, filing complaints, all of that stuff on how to do that correctly with procedure should be in the Constitution and the other governing documents. But just wanted to kind of introduce myself and say congratulations to all of you. Oh, I yield my time to the speaker.
I'll reclaim the remainder of the time. I will now open the floor for 5 minutes of question and answer. If anyone has any questions they would like to ask. Okay, seeing as there's no question, the speaker will reclaim the remainder of the time. Is there anyone else who has signed up for open forum? Okay, seeing as that is the rest of the speakers, we will now start the election for the Speaker of the Assembly. I will now open the floor for nominations. Representative Holman.
Representative Holman, university-wide representative, and I nominate Kevin Roberts for Speaker of the Assembly.
Is there a second to that? Okay. Representative Roberts has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Representative Santombi. Is there a second to that nomination? Representative Cannon has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Seeing as there are no other nominations, we'll now give each candidate the opportunity to speak, starting with who was nominated first, Representative Roberts. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak, and your time will start whenever you're ready. Yeah, it's better if you come up here so the mic. Yeah. The mic doesn't work. I think
Come to this one. So also
this is the only mic that works.
Oh, okay.
None of the mics work.
This works?
Yeah, this is the
owl.
Yeah, for the Zoom.
yeah.
Yeah, for Zoom people.
Just like come right
Are you
here.
talking to them?
Just give them the podium.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right here.
That way they can like read off. Is that what it
Hmm?
was?
None of the mics work.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Do you need someone to put
He
down
needs
your
a
stuff?
podium. Yeah, I kind of do like.
I mean,
Uh,
you can stand right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you'll be given 3 minutes and your time will start whenever you're ready. Mic doesn't work. None of the mics work.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. None of the
Just-
mic work. Okay. Ready?
Oh, okay.
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin Roberts. For those of you who don't know me, I'm ready to be speaker to improve SG image with the student body and to be an advocate for the assembly and not the dean of students office. I believe I'm well qualified and experienced for the role because of the diverse wealth of knowledge I bring. And in the 115th assembly, I had the honor and privilege to work with representatives on initiatives on legislation that positively affected the lives of students and this organization. When assembly was divided between those who wanted to pursue impeachment and those who did not, rather than do nothing with the help of others, came with a plan of action for assembly. During that time, I called over 20 representatives personally and got them to sponsor the best approach to proceed, given impeachment was so divisive for our assembly. Unfortunately, it was vetoed by the president. After the follow-up impeachment, rather than agonize, I organized, and with the help of Representative Holman, we wrote the most substantive reform bill for SG in over 10 years. In assembly, I have a proven track record of getting the work done and doing what needs to be done. What we do here truly matters, and I believe in that. But as my pledge to assembly sheet shows, my experience doesn't just extend to SG. I was also the vice president and secretary of a political organization, giving me the experience chairing meetings, Robert's rules, and leading a group of people. And I was also a part of student government at my previous university from UT Tyler. I served on the chair of the housing committee, as well as vice president of Residence Hall Association. I have actual legislative experience working in the state legislature and in Congress, and organizing experience working with the Democratic Party. The last assembly, SG caused harm to the student body. We have lost their trust. We need someone who can be a coalition builder, someone who is willing to work and repair our reputation with the student body, and I'm committed to doing that. As speaker, I promise to be impartial during assembly. However, I will remain a staunch advocate for the student body. When I ran on a promise to do that. Because I was endorsed by SFR, because I was endorsed by SFR because I was committed for advocating for tuition transparency, student wage increases, and material change to students. As speaker, I want to push for real change, not fluff. I pledge to create an SG reform committee to get an even more substantial bill passed by the end of May. I also pledge to work with the Ethics and Oversight Committee to create a no tolerance policy with sexual misconduct, something that should be codified into our code of rules. I also want to work with the Dean of Students and the Rules and Regulations Committee to get our code in order. As a former RRC committee member, we can't follow the rules if we don't know them. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. Speaker Braxton, former Speaker Braxton, has been in leadership for a year. With all due respect, we can do more. Some of the initiatives in this outline could have been achieved within those 3 months or within the year he was RRC chair. I'm not here to make performative actions or promises, nor am I here to take credit. I'm here to provide efficient, effective leadership to get the work done, put students first, and make tangible reform to our organization, our student body. This year, we can actually have real change in SG. I'd be honored to have your support and lead us to do that. Thank you.
Okay, the speaker will reclaim the remainder of the time. Moving on. I was gonna do each step of speech and then. Moving on to Representative Cannon, you'll have 3 minutes to speak and your time will start whenever you're ready. I'll give you.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to continue serving as the next Speaker of the Assembly. I'm so grateful that I had the ability to meet with quite a few of you over the break, over the past few days and weeks. It has truly been a pleasure getting to know everyone and learning all of the exciting things that we are planning on accomplishing this session. Student government is at an important crossroads where we must decide as a body what direction we will pay forward with. This next year will be a test of how well student government can represent the needs of the student body and make the necessary changes. This assembly needs a leader that can bring all of us together to find compromise and common ground and move together with our hearts focused on effecting meaningful change. I truly believe that I am the best candidate to accomplish this. I'm so proud of the work that I was able to accomplish in my limited time as Speaker of the 115th Assembly this last semester. From one-on-one meetings with almost all of the representatives to bi-weekly office hour events, I fostered a sense of community following the extreme low that this assembly was at from the fall of 2021. Moving forward with the 116th Assembly, I have some pretty big goals for us. As Speaker, it is my utmost priority to support any and all initiatives that this voting body passes. Whether it is my own initiative or yours, I will give it all of my time, energy, and effort in ensuring that our voices are heard at the administrative level. On top of that, as the speaker, I will plan semesterly town halls where we can interact directly with the student body. For far too long, the space has existed in a closed environment with little forms of communication directly with the students. I will change this. My promise as the speaker is that I will ensure our website is accessible. I will fix the crisis our governing documents are in, and I will quickly appoint the vacant positions that are not currently elected to this body. I will plan assembly social events where we can bond and create friendships with one another. I will also encourage extreme collaboration. As speaker, I can promise that SG reform work will be discussed, written, and passed. And while we have taken some steps to finding solutions, we still have a long way to go. If elected, you can expect timely and efficient communication from me. Whether it's at 1 a.m. or in the middle of the day, I will always respond within 24 hours, if not much sooner. If elected, I will use the speakership and make sure that along the way, I'm gauging feedback and sharing this position. And finally, as your next speaker, I can guarantee I will conduct business with the greatest transparency. I will always find ways that I can keep you updated on the conversations that I'm having with the executive branch, as well as the dean of students. I have served in every position in the legislative branch, from clerk to representative to chair and to then speaker this last semester. I know and can sympathize with every facet of this body. As the 116th speaker, I will lead with passion, dedication, and extreme hard work, and I will not let you down.
Okay, that concludes the speeches of both of the nominees. Now we'll move into the Q&A. Each candidate will be given the opportunity to answer up to 4 questions with a response time of 2 minutes for each of those questions. Seeing as Representative Roberts was nominated first, Representative Roberts will be the first to take questions. You can also pose a question to both candidates and that will count towards the 4. Only representatives and those who have been sworn in can ask the question. So with that in mind, yeah, okay.
So the people on Zoom be able to hear us, or?
I think that if you're here and you're here, the owl should
Okay.
pick it up if you project. Okay, I have a thing, seeing that Representative Roberts is nominated first, he'll be first to take questions, but if you have a question for both of the candidates, that will count towards their 4. So with that in mind, I will now open the floor for questions for Representative Roberts. Representative Tristan.
Representative Easton, University-wide representative. Representative Roberts, having served under Representative Cannon in 115th Assembly, both you and I have seen the good and the harm the speaker can do. In comparison to your predecessor, what's one thing Representative Cannon did that you would like to hope to continue, and what is one thing you would like to change?
First, I just want to say I sent y'all an email, my pledge sheet. I didn't get to do that before I started, but I sent that. So first thing I just want to say that Braxton has really good on being responsive. I know that when I message him, I can get something in 24 hours. That's something I also plan to do. I'm very responsive, as many of you know. But one thing I would say that, is that we can improve on. I think that the speaker and leadership role can put students over administration. I was a representative. I was not in leadership here, though I have leadership experience. I want to make sure that we are responsive to the student body, because that's who we're here to represent at the end of the day, ultimately. That's something we fundamentally need to do. We need to put students first. We need to make sure what we're doing when we have, say, a bunch of students come to us, want to pursue impeachment or lose confidence in the current and the past executive branch. We need to listen to them. We need to do that. So I think putting the student body first and working with the assembly, not the executive branch or admin, is what I would do.
So with that, I will reclaim the remainder of the time. Does anyone else have a question for Representative Roberts? Representative Getachew.
Representative Getachew, University-wide representative. Although you hold formal leadership positions, how did your experiences?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One thing I'll say is
Oh, I apologize. Okay.
Good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
fine.
that's a really good question. So as you guys know, on my pledge sheet, I sponsored and authored plenty of bills. And so one thing I'll say is that a lot of these bills I required without the help of leadership to consult, to get support behind the assembly. Prime example, impeachment, before we went down that road, we had a referendum bill to essentially ask the student body whether we wanted to do that or not, because half of the assembly was divided on pursuing it, and the other half didn't want to go through impeachment. So I stepped up, I called over 20 representatives, I, explained the whole process behind them, and to get that, and get support behind that. I also would say that the SG reform bill, me and Gerald Pullman worked on that all all winter to get that passed. We worked with, and talked with administration, we talked with Braxton, we talked with representatives, we talked with the student body. So I think I'm, qualified to take a leadership role and to do the job. So I've done the work shows.
Okay, I'll reclaim the remainder of the time. Does anyone else have a question for Representative Roberts? Can you project more? I don't think the hour is picking it up. Oh, wait, does it? Oh, I wasn't.
Well, no, if you turn it on and then test it, it's not.
Yeah, they're going green, but then it's not coming through.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so you just have to project more.
Representative Paul Krishna, business, to both of you. I'm a new representative, as many of you know, and most of the people here in the state assembly are new at 2024 and come with training. As we know, SG has a reputation for being toxic and a little bit of a clique, and I criticize that as myself, How would you, I know it's easier said than done to say, but we're going to create more collaborative and inclusive atmosphere in the government. That's different than what was passed. What actionable policies would you implement to make things better?
You go first, or?
Either or. I can go first. That's a really great question. And I handed out to most of you, and I made missed a few of y'all with that paper. There's actually a few initiatives on here that I've already thought of that are going to be great for increasing the way that we collaborate. So during the last session, there was a lot of toxicity, a lot of disconnect between the representatives. Not only does that promote toxicity, but it also does not promote collaboration. And so what I plan to do is work directly with the Ethics and Oversight Chair to make sure we are planning more events. Last session, most of the reps, unless you intentionally went out to seek friendship, didn't have that opportunity to make connections, to have those bonds. And so by providing that space as the speaker and the Ethics and Oversight Chair, we can make sure that we're hanging out outside of student government. And if we are going to know each other on a personal level, we're not going to be disrespectful to each other. And we're at the meetings going to make sure we're asking collaborative questions. And even behind and outside of the meetings, we're going to talk. And so planning those events is one of the ones that I'd love to do. Also, Senate, and I'm not sure about GSA, but for sure Senate plans a banquet at the end of the year. I'd love to have a banquet, guys. I don't know why we don't. Let's have a banquet. But specifically, I would love to plan, and in this document, you'll see that I promise to have the first social event organized this semester. So you can expect that from me. This document details exact deadlines that you can keep me accountable for my initiatives. So, and this will also be posted online and on the Google Drive if I'm elected. So that way, the student body and the representatives can make sure that I'm being held accountable for my initiatives. That answers the question. I'm not gonna. That's good.
Okay, I will reclaim the remainder of the time. Now, Representative Roberts, you'll be given 2 minutes to answer the question.
Sorry. Yeah, a lot of things are pretty much similar to Braxton. Having more social events, having more involvement and communication within each other. But I also think that the best way to do this is also to build upon the rules that we've established for code of conduct, having a no tolerance policy, holding members accountable for disactions that are grievous. I also have spoke with Leland, Izzy, and a little other people of reps preliminary about having a state of the assembly address for us to get to address some of the concerns and address our legislative priorities that we want to achieve this year, just because it would be a great idea for us to get to meet each other in a less stressful environment and outside of this more formal structure that we have, as well as for us to meet the judicial branch, meet the other agencies that we work with, but we don't get to see on an office basis, because student government is a vehicle to push for change. And it's best that we know each other so we can see if we can find common ground, see if we can find ways to help each other to push for more change with the administration. But also, I think that as speaker, and I also touched on this on the pledge sheet, is I think that starts with being impartial as a speaker. I think that's treating everyone's initiatives and their agendas with respect and pushing for it. and treat them as their own. And that's something I've come to do as speaker. I think that, that's also working and putting the students first, not putting them last. Working for the students, not for the administration. And I also just, want to improve the morale of SG as a whole. Like I said, or like you said, I think there's about 6 or 7 incumbents here that filed to be run. That's not a lot, because last year was a bad year. And I know Braxton doesn't want that again this year, but I think the best way to do that is, fostering more events and collaboration, build friendships and build connections. And that's something I want to do.
Okay, I will reclaim the remainder of the time. Does anyone else have a question for Representative Roberts or Representative Roberts and Representative Cannon? Can you project more? Or you can come up here because the owl isn't picking it up. The microphones don't work, yeah.
Does this work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Wait.
Representative Moore, communications, this is direct towards both of you. You both have a number of initiatives, goals that you want to see accomplished.
Do you think that I'm so
Yeah,
sorry, it's
Let's
not
just have
pick-
everyone come up here from now on.
with, I mean, since it's plugged in, yeah.
This is the mic.
This is the mic, yeah.
This is the owl, this picks it up, so if you can just talk.
Okay.
That would be perfect.
I apologize for this, they tried to
No.
fix it, but
I didn't realize it was. on
yeah, the
Zoom,
mics,
too.
the mics just aren't working
Okay,
for
cool.
this meeting.
Representative Moore, communications, this is directed towards both of you. You both have a number of initiatives and goals on your, pledge sheets. I was wondering, if all else fails, what's the biggest goal that you would want to see accomplished as speaker?
Who would like to answer that first?
I can go first. I think, for me personally, if all of my other initiatives failed, biggest thing I think, I've talked to a few about this, is tuition transparency. I think, organization aside, tuition transparency is something that would directly benefit a lot of students. We all pay tuition. We all should know where that money goes. I think tuition reform, tuition transparency is something I would put forward. Everything else I've said.
Okay, I'll reclaim the remainder of the time. Representative Cannon, you will have 2 minutes to answer that question.
Yeah, obviously the document in front of you all has quite a few, and I think that one of the most important one that as a body that we focus on is obviously, I'm pretty sure many of us are aware what happened last semester in the fall of 2021. There was a lot of stark criticisms brought towards student government. I think that it's important that as an assembly body, we move forward and we're able to listen to the student body. That not only are we enacting our own initiatives, our own personal initiatives, but we're also listening to what the student body wants to see from us. And we're affecting the necessary changes that they want to see from us and making the changes that they envision their best student government to be implemented here. Kevin Roberts and Representative Holman did pass a SG reform bill last session. It only touched on some of the issues that we are experiencing in this assembly. We have to go much further. And I do think this is something we all are going to need to work together. This can't just be 2 or 3 people working on reform. This has got to be something we all work on together. And I think that if we're able to collaborate, have these good environments with each other, then we're going to be able to accomplish it. And I'm confident that if I was speaker, that I would be able to find compromise and common ground on all of these very intricate issues. With the SG reform bill, I was one of the leading voices of passing amendments to make sure that this bill passed almost unanimously. So I'm committed to finding common ground, making sure everyone's voice is heard, and then everyone gets what they want to see out of student government, including the student body.
Okay, I will reclaim the remainder of the time. Representative Roberts, you've been asked 4 questions, and now Representative Cannon can be asked 2 more questions. Representative Tristan.
Representative Bruce Brown, University Wide Representative. Representative Cannon, you mentioned a lot about listening to the student body. But when this assembly had the opportunity to take a stand against the former executive board's complacency and upright disrespect to the student body's voice, you voted no to hold former director Greg Marconi accountable for his actions.
Representative, can you say it again, but can you project or come up? Yeah, it's not picking up, yeah.
Yeah, just moving forward, everyone just come up.
Yeah,
to
just come up
stand
here, yeah.
If it's possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Representative Cannon, I'll start again, sorry. Yeah. You mentioned a lot about listening to the student body, which I think is obviously important. But when this assembly had the opportunity to take a stand against the former executive board's complacency and upright disrespect for the student body, you voted no to hold former director Grant Marconi accountable for his actions, despite a significant number of students asking this assembly to do so. Do you regret your vote? And if so, how can we, as new reps, trust what you say when you weren't able to show commitment to the student body and their voices?
That's a great question. So there were 3 votes last semester for anyone who wasn't involved. There was votes of no confidence on the previous executive board. On 2 of them, I abstained. I was privy to the point of order conversation, which allowed me to know information that I probably shouldn't about the vote. So I abstained on those votes. On the Grant Marconi vote, which is the financial director, I voted that I did have confidence in him. Now, obviously, as speaker, you have to remain neutral on all issues. So regardless of how I voted, I would still remain neutral on any issue, whether personally I supported it or not. But specifically regarding Grant Marconi, I believe that out of the entire executive board that was left, the 3 of them, that Grant Marconi exhibited the greatest willingness to be better and to change his actions. Not only did he get up here to speak to us directly and answer questions from the assembly, he also presented updated budget reports for us and directly reached out to representatives to address concerns. So out of the entire executive board, I had confidence that he would be willing to change. Now the other ones, I don't know, but Grant Marconi, I did vote no. I do think that maybe the decision, if we had a little bit more time to think about it, this was a very rushed resolution. A lot was happening at once. If I had more time to look at it, maybe I would make a different decision. But I think what it's important to note is that regardless of my history, I am committed to making sure that I'm advocating for your issues, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. I truly do support the Eyes of Texas reform that Kevin Roberts passed. I was not an author of that resolution, but when it was shot down, I was the one that sent the email to administration to tell them they better get their act together, and they did. And that referendum is going to be in April. So without that, I'm not sure if the Eyes of Texas referendum would be.
And we have one final. Wait, how do I pick?
You just pick. Yep, you're the back.
I'm
Wait.
also what?
Can you state your?
Oh, sorry. Representative Reese Bierman, business representative. I'm also a new representative and I'm hearing a lot of negativity. And so like, what's something that you're most proud of from last semester that like the 115th December that you got done? And then also something you wish you could have improved on. Yeah, so one thing that I think that I did really great was as soon as I took over as the speaker, and so I guess some backstory. I was not elected as speaker of the 115th Assembly. I was speaker pro tem. So when the previous speaker stepped down, I had to fill in that role, which was just for this semester. As soon as I took over, I had one-on-one meetings with over half of the representatives over winter break. This is not only an initiative I want to continue doing throughout this session, but I'm really proud of it last session. Not only did it allow me to gauge feedback about what just happened in the fall of 2021, but it also allowed me to assess what initiatives still need to be completed and how I could further supplement those initiatives as speaker. A lot of times as speaker, the job role is a lot of helping other people with their initiatives and not always leading your own. And while I do have a lot of initiatives here, I'm really excited about helping all of you with yours. I also held bi-weekly discussion meetings, which is every other Tuesday. I held office hour like events before the assembly. And what those allowed me to do was really allow representatives to come and chat. This was a step in the right direction to increasing morale. I do think it could go a lot further, but I am proud that we finally got something concrete that representatives can expect at least twice a month to meet with other representatives. I think one thing that I could change is obviously I'm learning a lot. I'm still making plenty of mistakes, and being speaker is a really big learning curve. There are some decisions that I would probably think twice about if I look back, but I think it's important that I recognize that I have made mistakes, and that I'm open to feedback. If you don't agree with something I did, I'm more than happy to talk about it. If you want to meet and just tell me all the things that I did wrong, I will sit there and listen, and that is the least I can do as speaker. I'm here to reflect what you want from me, and I'm also willing to grow and learn throughout the process.
And with that, that concludes the Q&A for the speaker nominees. We will now move into a roll call vote to vote for the next speaker. When we call your name, please say your vote for either Representative Roberts or Representative Cannon.
Representative Adams,
Representative Roberts.
Representative Bailey, Representative Balakrishnan, Representative Banjo, Representative Banjo, Representative Cannon, Representative Chiapetta, Representative Chiapetta, Representative Sindrick.
Also, Raga, please make sure that you're really loud so I can hear you, because some of them are on Zoom, so I don't know if maybe they do.
Representative
showing up.
Klassen, Representative Coyatzo, Representative Cotomanos, Representative Feinstein, Representative Fernandez, Representative Bierman, Representative Genachu, Representative Gonzalez, Representative Greenwald, Representative Halamek, Representative Hayes.
Cannon.
Thank you. Representative Hoshing. Sorry?
She couldn't hear, so can you say her name?
Oh, shit.
They're here, they're just on Zoom.
Representative Banjara.
Cannon.
Thank you. Representative Holman.
Roberts.
Representative Jadel.
Roberts.
Representative Sahil. Representative McGill.
Cannon.
Representative Moore.
Roberts.
Representative Mosley.
Cannon.
Representative Pena.
Roberts.
Representative Roberts. Representative Ryan. Representative Sanchez. Representative Sinnathamby. Representative Tristan.
Roberts.
Representative Torgerman. Representative Villanueva.
Cannon.
Representative Weiss. Representative Whittington.
Roberts.
Okay, that's everyone.
Okay, was there anyone's name that was not called or did not hear their name being called? Was everyone's name called?
Just to
Okay.
confirm, Representative Chiapetta, are you here? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we will now tally the votes. Please give us a moment. And by a vote for Roberts for 20 and Cannon 14, Representative Roberts has been elected speaker. We will now go into a 5-minute recess for speaker transition.
Y'all can use the bathroom.
Thank you,
while we do
everyone.
this.
Yes, take a break.
Thank you, everyone.
Stretch your legs.
We're doing a 5-minute recess.
like the
Wait.
2 minutes. Excuse any technical difficulties we may have. I want to first start by saying thank you all for your support, and we're going to get good work done this year. We'll now move to the chair race for rules and regulations. Nominations are open. Yes, Representative Bullock.
Representative Balakrishnan, business, I nominate Gerald Coleman.
Second.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. The chair will, or the speaker will entertain a request to approve this by unanimous consent, seeing as you're.
Speech. You have to do the speech still.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, is that? Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the.
Okay, fair enough. Representative Holman, you have 3 minutes to present your speech.
Even if it's unanimous, we still have to run through the speech and the questions.
That's fair.
Okay.
You're gonna fix that. All right, whenever you're ready.
So I had this calculated 2-minute, 59-second speech, but I'm not going to waste your time here today. Essentially, I want to say I've been involved in student government since the 114th Student Government Assembly. And ever since I've been here, I've recognized that there's a lot of potential here, a lot of potential for good, but it just requires the right people in leadership. So I am committed to being that person. I won't talk necessarily about my experiences or my past things I've done, but I will say my 3 immediate legislative priorities are: 1, reforming the campus-wide election code; 2, amending the SG Constitution; and 3rd, reviewing and clarifying the code of rules and procedures. This can take a lot of work. I definitely cannot do it alone, so I really count on all of you. So thank you again, and I look forward to serving as the next RRC chair.
Okay. The speaker will entertain any questions for Representative Holman. Seeing none, the speaker will reclaim the question and answer time. The chair or the speaker will entertain a request to approve to appoint Representative Holman chair by unanimous consent, seeing as he's the only other candidate
Are there any motions?
on the floor. Sir,
Representative Holman, University-wide representative, and I move to confirm Dr. Gerald Holman as chair of the RRC committee.
Second.
is there a step? Seeing as there's a second, is there any objection? Congratulations, Chair Holman. All right, we're now moving on to the Chair of Academic Affairs. The period for the period for nominations are open. Okay. Any other nominations? Okay. Any other nominations now? Okay. It's been nominated, seconded. Okay. Any other nominations for Academic Affairs Chair? Seeing none, the period for nominations is closed. Seeing as Representative Palazzo was first, we'll go ahead and give you 3 minutes to begin your speech. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Okay, you can just press start when you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Diego Collazo, and I'm running to be your next academic affairs chair. As a freshman and now as a sophomore, I've been very passionate about academic policy, and I've tried to do everything in my power to pursue that passion. I joined Senate as a freshman, and at first I served on the Faculty Affairs Committee, and now I serve on the Academic Enrichment Committee. Senate, so I have a lot of experience within legislative organizations. Senate is focused on academic policy, and I want to continue that while still serving my constituents as now a representative for the College of Liberal Arts. I think that I'm qualified for this position despite not being an SG rep before, because like I said, I have been in legislation before. And on top of that, I have been involved in many other academic organizations. I was the meeting coordinator for Alpha Lambda Delta Phi Eta Sigma, which is an honor society on campus aimed at freshmen, which means I also have leadership experience within academic organizations. On top of that, I am the vice captain for the Central Texas Mall United Nations traveling team. So I am also on the side of competitive academic organizations. I have a lot of initiatives that I want to implement as academic chair, and I know that a lot of the time academic initiatives that are implemented are skewed towards people that already have their academic path planned out. And I know that a lot of people that don't have their academic path planned out yet don't have a lot of support, and I want to change that if I'm elected academic affairs chair. On top of that, I want to make sure that I'm still servicing the entire student body. So I have tailored my academic policy to suit those that do not know their academic path, the general student body, and those that are focused on their academic path. The number one thing that I will try to get implemented is a universal printing pass. This is an issue that affects all students, and it's an academic necessity. Every student needs to print, and some professors require printing. I think that this wouldn't be too much of a burden on the budget. It could be added to tuition in tuition rebalancing without raising tuition, as well as it could be subsidized by the student government budget, which we are going to consider soon, which is why I want to present this policy first. On top of that, even though printing would be passed and subsidized by student government as a portion, we also need more printer access. I want every building that holds classes to have at least one public printer. Every building has printers, but they're not always open to everyone from all departments, and I want one generalized printer in every single building. On top of this, I want to expand Q drops and one-time exemptions. A lot of students in the School of Undergraduate Studies and a lot of students in just other colleges are still exploring their academic paths, and I don't believe that they should be penalized for doing so. As it stands right now, the Q drop and one-time exemption rules are too stringent, and students are punished for exploring academic opportunities instead of rewarded for it. And I want to make sure that whatever path they decide on, they're not punished for mistakes that they made as a freshman or as a sophomore. And then finally, I want to expand funding for traveling competing teams. I know firsthand as the vice captain for Central Texas Mall United Nations that we have to pay for a lot of things out of pocket. And I know that other organizations such as speech and debate also have to pay for things out of pocket. And I think that that's ridiculous for a school that's as big as UT. Thank you.
Representative Sinatami, if whenever you're ready. You just press start right.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who I haven't met, my name is Avery Simathambi, and I'm a second-year neuroscience major, and I'm running to be your academic affairs chair. Student government is at a turning point as we kick off this 116th assembly, and I would love the opportunity to shape and lead the academic affairs committee. My platform can be broken down into 3 parts. First, as chair, I will reconfigure the joint resolution committee to better foster collaboration and actually have a discussion, as we currently only take online votes in its existing form. I will work with Senate and GSA to redefine how we employ JRs as well, and make sure to actually reform the JR usage so that the Dean of Students will actually find it acceptable, as the JR process is currently on hold. At its core, academic affairs exists to work on academic issues in partnership with the other LSOs, and we are all students first, which means that JR reform needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. We need to be able to resume using them, and I have a unique insight into this process as I served on the JR committee last year. Second, I will work to make clear pathways for students to report concerns or problems with their professors to their respective reps or the college councils if they're interested. We need to use our positionality in student government to uplift the students we represent, which means being an accessible avenue for them to channel any kinds of concerns and then actually providing that feedback to our deans. Lastly, I want to work more closely with our SG agencies and really teach them how to use policy. Student government can be a place where everything is dissociated. And at this point, moving forward, student government, we need to work together and we need to collaborate more. We need to teach different agencies how to use policy to fulfill their initiatives. We need to give them the tools to be able to advocate for themselves. While I'm so excited to get some much needed fresh faces, it's so good to meet everyone. I believe that I alone hold the experiences and the knowledge needed to fulfill this position. My experience with student government goes back to freshman year when I served alongside the Longhorn Legislative Aids Agency program. I worked closely with the Speaker of the 114th Assembly and the Administrative Director to learn all about student government. Last session, I served as the CNS rep and Vice Chair of the Academic Affairs Committee. I learned how the Academic Affairs Committee operates. I studied our governing documents closely and endured the shortcomings of student government. I know where we need change. I am back this year because I believe in SG's mission. That is the only reason I am back, and I want to get back to actually doing work for the student body. Leadership in SG is often dominated by government majors, and as someone from CNS, I bring a unique perspective, especially as I'm involved in other academic spaces. This includes the Natural Sciences Council, where I've gotten to directly interact and pass legislation with Senate. It is one of my top priorities to bridge this divide between the 2 LSOs. There's also a lot of instability in student government last year, and while we work through this transition,
Okay. Okay. So just so, oops. Okay, I don't use Apple computers, so this is like a new thing for me.
If you need help, let me know.
Okay, no, I was trying to raise it back up. Okay.
To the side.
How do I?
Also, can you on the bottom allow for like 1 page? I feel like
Do what?
Oh.
Okay. All right. So just so everyone knows what's going on now. So we will now enter Q&A period. Each person will be allowed to be asked up to 4 questions with 2 minutes of response time. Since Representative Palazzo went first, he'll be available to be asked questions. You may ask questions to both representatives as well. Representative Palazzo, do you want to come forward? You want to come up front?
And then also Representative Albies.
Okay, yeah. I guess.
If you need it. You're pretty good.
Okay. The speaker will now entertain any questions for Representative Palazzo. Representative Holman.
I have one for both.
Yeah. Oh yeah, come forward. Okay.
So, hey y'all, so I'm a first generation student, and entering a school like UT can be overwhelming and daunting, especially when existing resources are very limited and hard to find. So I guess to both of you, have you considered / will you consider any policies that the student government can do to support first gen students?
All right. Want to do the first? Yes. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Yes. So I completely sympathize with that. My parents were first generation.
Speaking to the mic.
Oh,
I completely sympathize with that. My parents were first generation students. I'm a second generation student. I've heard a lot of the struggles that they've gone through, and they have done a lot to ensure that I don't go through that. And I want to make sure that no student has to go through the same struggles that they went to. I think that there's a lot of good existing support on campus for first generation students. I've seen a lot of tabling done by different organizations. And I know organizations like Senate already do things to help out first generation students. And I would just like to expand upon that. And I think that because of my background in other legislative organizations, I think that I would be able to facilitate that change very easily. Well, I wasn't on anything like a JR committee. I have been on the other side of legislative issues, and I think I would be able to implement policies like that. So I think increasing funding or providing more support to organizations that already exist for first generation students would help. Along with that, a lot of my policies, while not directly targeted at first generation students, would also indirectly help first generation students. My printing pass would help first generation students manage financials. It would be another financial burden that they wouldn't have to worry about, because I'm assuming since they're first generation, they're coming from another country, and as such, they won't have access to a printer. I think my OTE extensions and Q-drop extensions would also help first generation students, as they might not know how to navigate the academic resources offered by UT. As you stated, it's a lot harder for them to navigate school as it first begins. And I think that this would help them in their future, as they wouldn't be punished for mistakes that they made in the past that they really were not able to account for. On top of this, another policy that would help, like I mentioned before, is more budgets for academic organizations, because once they do find their academic interest, they won't have any financial burden once participating in it, and will be able to fully participate in everything that they're interested in. Thank you.
All right, Representative Sothambi, whenever you are ready. If you should press that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for your question, Gerald. So my dad was also first generation. He came to UT, that's when he moved to the United States. He grew up dirt poor in Malaysia. So I empathize with the immigrant experience. And part of the reason why I'm in student government is really to advocate for those students. As far as what I will personally do for that, academic affairs is historically a committee that doesn't always do a lot if there's not a lot of JRs going on. Something that I want to do is make the committee active, have meetings even if we don't have legislation, so that this committee, A, gets to know each other, which builds community, but B, so we're actually working on legislation that the committee and the greater assembly and the greater student body cares about. So hearing that you want to work on that, absolutely, Gerald, I want to do that for you. Agencies are also a big thing that I think they're so underutilized in student government. There's like 20 of them. No one can even probably name all of them. And I think that's such a shame, because they do have such specialized and amazing work that they do. And to be able to go to them and say, hey, let's collaborate on this. I think that's something that we so badly need to do. In addition, by working to get JRs up and running again, we're going to be able to hopefully collaborate with Senate and GSA going forward. Student government has a unique connection with administration and with our funding that I think we can channel into that, so we can really pool all of our resources to make sure that we're not just, gatekeeping, pigeonholing, whatever you want to call it, initiatives and our funds, so that we really are making this a collaborative body. And with my experience being academic affairs vice chair, being in student government for all of my years here, and also being a natural sciences council, I've seen how the two bodies work, and I know that we can build bridges.
All right. The speaker will take another question for Representative Palazzo. Representative Goodell. Oh, come up here. I'm sorry. Yeah, come up here because keep on people.
What specific skills do you have from your previous workings in other academic places that you would plan to use to inform your decisions here?
Thank you. I think that's an excellent question. Like I mentioned earlier in my speech, while I don't have experience specifically in student government, I do have experience in Senate, and that gives me an advantage of knowing how Senate itself works, and it also gives me legislative experience. It won't be as harsh of a learning curve for me, considering that I am a new rep. On top of this, I am very involved in other academic organizations, so I know how other academic organizations function, and it's not just liberal arts organizations or government organizations. It's multidisciplinary organizations. Like Alpha Lambda Delta is a multidisciplinary freshman organization. So I have had insight into the struggles that other students from other colleges have. And I think that that uniquely prepares me for this position. Thank you.
All right. All right. Any other questions for Representative Palazzo? Representative Tristan. Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Representative Tristan, university-wide representative. Both of you seem extremely well qualified candidates, while Avery has served in student government for almost 2 years. Representative Colazo has served in Senate and various other organizations. Could you maybe tell us what was your proudest initiative event or piece of legislation that you took initiative with?
You can go first, so.
I've been going first. She can go first.
Wait, what?
I said you can go first if
Okay.
you want, or I can go.
You can press start whenever you're ready.
Sure. So speaking to stuff that I've done, oh, sorry. Speaking to stuff that I've done as rep, this past session, with the support of Representative Cannon, we worked to create a Dean Student Advisory Council for the College of Natural Sciences, similar to the President's Student Advisory Council, if you've heard of it, PSAC. What this committee does is it appoints different people from the College of Natural Sciences. So we have people from underrepresented majors, we have people from underrepresented races, people in leadership positions, people who are not in leadership positions. Basically, we scouted out and found a bunch of different people to get a diverse council as possible. And what we do is we meet with the dean and we basically say, hey, this is what we want to see change. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to form this committee and now serve on it. We just had our first meeting and we got to sit down with all of the deans, which is a rare experience when you're in a college of 10,000 students. We got to sit down and say, this is what our students are saying are working and aren't working, and how are we going to fix it? I think that was such a unique opportunity. And again, that only just speaks to the fact that you actually can do change with legislation. I think sometimes with legislation, we can write the ledge and then no one ever follows up. And I think that's something that as chair, I will really make sure that we're keeping ourselves accountable, that we're not just passing ledge and that we're actually doing what the ledge says. And so that was one of my most proud accomplishments. And then speaking a little bit outside of student government, a few years ago, I was a part of a different group and I got to go lobby for the passage of this mental health crisis bill for schools. And it was really just a transformative experience getting to actually talk to Texas representatives and say, we're having a mental health crisis. I think it's something that we're seeing at UT, especially with the pandemic, and just the experience of saying, here's a bill, let's actually make change at the government level. So.
All right, Representative Colazo.
Thank you. That was a very good question. Well, I wasn't directly an author of it. I was part of the Senate-wide process through internal resolutions about the COVID pass fails. I saw the processes that Senate took in order to implement those pass fails. And I thought that, and I saw firsthand how that has helped so many people. I personally know 10 people that benefited greatly from those COVID pass fails. And that on top of the winter storm was creating a lot of mental health issues for students on campus. And just seeing that relief inspired me, which is why I decided to pursue the platform policies that I wanted to. And I wanted to expand on platform policies like that. I think that one of the best parts about being a student leader or being in a legislative organization is seeing how much you're able to help people, which is why that's one of my proudest accomplishments. Thank you.
All right, Representative Palazzo can take one more question. Representative Sanchez. Sorry? Sanchez.
Representative Sanchez, at-large graduate representative. As a graduate student myself, I'm graduate rep now. It almost seems that graduate students kind of get the second thought. And I'm just kind of curious if graduate students are anywhere in the agenda, in you guys' proposals, or any thoughts for graduate students in the academic affairs.
Is this addressed to both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so thank you. That's an excellent question. So while I myself am not a graduate student, I'm not that familiar with the ways that graduate schools work internally, but that does not stop me from learning. And there are a few steps I have taken to learn about the difference that undergraduates face and the differences that graduate students face. So the printing access, I think, would help both undergraduates and graduate students, but I know that that's a small consolation in the grand scheme of things for what graduate students have to deal with. Another policy that I would like to implement and work on that I have talked with Representative Yedley about is making sure that TAs, which are normally graduate students, sometimes undergraduate students, are compensated fairly for their work. I know that currently, as it stands, a lot of graduate TAs have
unions, and I would like to strengthen the protections that unions have by any way possible within the SG Assembly, and making sure and advocating that graduate students get a working wage. And as Representative Avery mentioned earlier, academic affairs is usually a pretty inactive committee, and I want to change that. And I always want to be on the front end of policies that are changing campus. Thank you.
Representative Simbatomi?
Thank you for your question, Representative Sanchez. For graduates, I think you're right. I think sometimes, especially in this body, when we're predominantly undergraduates, we do forget about graduate students. I think we've seen Representative Adams take a really active role and show that you can be, you can enact change even as a graduate student. So thank you for that question. As far as what I would like to do with that, like I said, with reworking the JR process, that's going to include GSA. Last assembly, we had a really hard time communicating with GSA, and that's just not okay, because at the end of the day, the Graduate Student Assembly is representing a large majority of the students at this university, and we need to talk to them. We need to figure out A, what can we work on together, and B, how can we support them in their initiatives? Because I think sometimes, like I said, you guys aren't at the forefront, and that's not okay. So first, I'm going to redo the JR committee to make sure that we're actually talking with you guys to figure out. And as far as being in this body, I do have to agree with Diego. We should looking at the TA salaries. I know that's something that a lot of people have been pushing for recently for both undergraduate and graduate TAs, working on figuring out what's the best way to compensate you guys for all the work that you do at this university. I'll see the remaining.
All right. The period of question and answer has expired or has ended for Representative Collazo. Representative Sinnathamby can take up to 2 more questions. Representative Cindric. Oh, sorry, one more. Yes.
Hi, I'm Representative Cindric, transfer rep. I have a question for you. So can you expand on how you will work with CNS and Senate in the future, and how will you maintain the integrity of the JR committee?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So as far as how I plan to work with Senate, I think historically there have been tensions, and I think something that we all just need to learn how to do is just sit down and listen and have those conversations. I'm a big believer, if anyone ever wants to sit down and have a tough conversation, let's do it. Let's have the tough conversations, let's work through it, because at the end of the day, we're all students. We're all trying to just do good for people, right? We all have the same end goal. So I think if we just sit down and work through this, communicate with each other, and I do, like, Senate does amazing work, and I think we have a lot to learn from their structure and seeing the shortcomings of student government. I think we should be asking Senate, what can we do that's better? And so A, just having those conversations, B, either working with their policy director, or because I am in Natural Sciences Council, I've seen each college council has a legislative representative that they send over to Senate, or a Senate representative. And so working with those representatives of each of the college councils is, I think, a really great way to get in contact with every single college, but on the Senate side. So having town hall meetings. A big thing that I really, really want to do is encourage reps to go to those college council meetings. They're so informative, and they're such a welcoming space. And so I think that's one of the other things, is potentially writing legislation into our code to mandate that, or at least strongly encourage reps to go do that, to make sure that we're not just keeping in our little SG bubble, that we are doing the more outreach. Something that was also passed last year was a community event that all the reps have to go to once a month. And I think that's a great way and a great start to doing more outreach. And then can you remind me the second part of your question?
How will you maintain the integrity of the JR?
So for the JR committee, currently it's not functioning. There's not enough collaboration. I think the first thing is meeting with Dean Lilly and asking her what is her problem, what she would like to see going forward, because at the end of the day, she is the final say. However, we need to be able to we need to be able to push back and say, like, this is how it's going to function for us.
All right, question and answer period has ended for both candidates. We'll now proceed with the roll call vote. The acting clerk will call the roll.
Acting
clerk.
Yeah. All right. Representative Adams. Representative Bailey. Sorry? Thank you. Representative Balakrishnan. Representative Banjara.
Sivatham.
Thank you. Representative Cannon. Representative Chiapetta. Not here. Representative Sindrick. Representative Sindrick. Representative Klassen. Representative Coyatzo. Representative Cotomanos. Representative Feinstein. Representative Fernandez. Representative Fearman. Representative Getachew. Representative Gonzalez. Representative Greenwald. Representative Greenwald. Representative Holomek. Representative Hayes.
Collazo.
You. Representative Poshing. Representative Pullman. Representative Jadel. Representative Sahil.
He left too. He left.
Okay. Representative McGill.
Colasso.
Representative Moore. Thank you. Representative Mosley. Representative Pena. Representative Roberts.
Not voting.
Oh, yeah, that's right, sorry. Representative Ryan. Representative Sanchez. Representative Simathandi. Representative Tristan. Representative Turgeman. Representative Villanueva. Representative Weiss. Representative Whittington. Sorry? Thank you. Okay, that's everyone.
Okay. By 18 votes for Representative Collazo and 13 votes for Representative Sivatham, Representative Collazo is now the Academic Affairs Chair. I can never get this. All right. We will now proceed with ethics and oversight. The speaker now opens the floor for nominations for ethics and oversight. Chair. Representative Cannon.
Representative Cannon, why the nominations?
The other nominations, Representative Getachew. Yeah, anyone second Representative Mosley? Is there a second for Representative Mosley?
Second.
Any other nominations? All right, the speaker closes nominations for EOC chair. All right. Seeing as Representative Mosley was first, Representative Mosley, you'll be granted 3 minutes to speak, and then Representative Kristen. Yeah. Just speak loud, please.
Got it.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Awesome. So my name is Sterling Mosley. I don't think I've met most of you, but it's good to see you all, and hopefully we'll get to know each other more once the assembly gets going for a few more weeks. But I would like to run for ethics and oversight chair because I saw routinely, particularly last assembly, just the impact that lack of attendance had on this assembly. I think that honestly, it was disgraceful. Sort of seeing it from a third person perspective, not being representative last assembly and seeing it now. I think that is something, an issue that really needs to be tackled to ensure that representatives are held accountable when it comes to attendance. Additionally, with the impeachment that took place last assembly, I think the Ethics and Oversight Committee does play an important role in keeping representatives accountable, and just in general, keeping the assembly accountable for the actions that take place here. Additionally, I think that ensuring that we sort of make more of a community here via social events and that type of thing. 100% something that I would like to work on and do as someone who's saw and partly experienced the toxicity from last assembly. I want to make sure that we sort of build an environment that makes that less likely to happen. And that is sort of the three main reasons why I want to run for this position. Keeping representatives accountable, especially with attendance, creating a better environment here in SG, and keeping representatives accountable. So thank you.
Thank you. Representative Tristan, whenever you are ready. Yeah, honestly. Okay.
Yes. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Adrian. I'm currently serving as university-wide representative, and I'm running to serve as our next chair of the Ethics and Oversight Committee. Before choosing to run, I spoke to 4 members of the past assembly board to make sure that I had the adequate skills to be on the board. I also met with the former Ethics and Oversight Committee Chair, Raghav Agarwal, who affirmed his encouragement and support for my decision to run for this chairship. Having served as the clerk of the 115th Assembly, I have seen firsthand the lack of accountability, transparency, and accountability that our student government, particularly this assembly, can oftentimes perpetuate. As a staunch advocate for making sure student leaders across campus are being held accountable, I believe that I would be an excellent candidate for this position. As chair, I plan on being a compassionate, nonpartisan, approachable leader who is willing to hold representatives accountable, including myself, along with every other student leader in student government accountable. My biggest priorities will be making sure that our assembly is transparent as possible, as accessible to students as it should be, and one that affirms accountability. As EOC chair, my role will not to be to evaluate representatives' absences on a surface level, but rather to just be a person of support and a friend to all who may be distant, lost, or in need of support. With that being said, I want to be a chair that is understanding and one that is sympathetic to all representatives' needs. As far as some of my initiatives, I'd like to take charge in creating and implementing a zero tolerance policy and reforming the proxy vote option if a vast majority of the assembly shows discontent. In addition, I, along with Representative Sindrick and Representative Getachew, plan on creating an equity, diversity, and inclusion caucus that will strive to diversify student government and allow us to interact more with organizations that are doing work on the ground. In addition, though it is not clearly vested in the Constitution, the Ethics and Oversight Chair usually is the Assembly's honorary event planner. And so some of my initiatives include creating a community within this Assembly and within student government, which compose of events such as a State of the University address, a Student Government Collaboration Week, and more tabling events. And additionally, I just want to be a leader who is approachable and a friend to all in this Assembly. So with that, I look forward to questions if anybody may have any, and I yield the rest of my time.
All right. All right. So we will now move to question and answers for each respondent or each person. We'll have 2 minutes to respond. We'll start with Representative Mosley since he was the first one to go. Representative Holman.
Representative Mosley, towards the end of the 115th Assembly, a previous representative showed a video of you on Fox News calling the UT NAACP chapter a mob. Do you think that is appropriate for any representative to say, especially the Ethics and Oversight Committee Chair? Thank you.
Representative Holman, I'm going to need you to rephrase that. That is pointed.
Sure. Could you clarify the remarks of calling the UT NAACP chapter a mob, and why should this assembly trust you to lead the Ethics and Oversight Committee?
First off, I believe that's inaccurate. First off, I believe that's inaccurate. I would recommend going back and looking at the interview again. I did not say that. And additionally, as if elected to the Ethics and Oversight Chair, I pledge to remain neutral and ensure that representatives here are held accountable. As someone who saw firsthand last assembly, viewing from a third person perspective, not as a representative, I see the dysfunction that went on here, and I partly experienced the toxicity that went on here. And I think that that's something that we need to change and something that we need to work on to ensure that this student assembly not only serves the needs of students, but makes an environment where assembly members can, one, express their viewpoints, and two, really develop an environment where we won't be attacked personally, I suppose, and make an environment where we can all sort of prosper and ensure that student voices are heard, irrespective if we agree with all of them.
All right. Any other questions for Representative Mosley? Representative Whittington.
Representative Whittington, College of Liberal Arts. Representative Mosley, how do you feel about a zero tolerance policy in regards to sex harassment and assault for student government?
Yeah, I'm all for that. I thought what went on last assembly was atrocious with the executive board, and holding them accountable is something that I pledge to do. I think it was shameful behavior what happened last assembly, and I 100% pledge to have a zero tolerance policy.
Any other questions for Representative Mosley? Representative Adams.
So I've got the interview from Fox News pulled up right here, and the quote was counterfactual, anti-intellectual leftist mob. You just denied using the word mob. Can you clarify why, as the Ethics and Oversight Chair, we should trust you?
I denied the phrase that I called the NAACP.
The question
Hey, Mom.
in here
Representative Adams.
was
Representative Adams.
about the NAACP.
That's not what I recall. I believe that the question regarded students who filed a lawsuit in regards to the Eyes of Texas. And so I was brought on to interview pertaining to this issue, an issue that a lot of students here are split upon. And I gave my honest opinion and what I thought about the issue. And, you know, other than that, I mean, I'll stick to my principles. I'll stick to my opinions. And I think that having someone who's not going to compromise on their principles is always a good thing. That's not to say that I won't be open to having my mind changed. That's not to say that I'm not open to hearing all sides. That's not to say that I'm not open to being neutral, which I will be. It's to say that I come to this assembly with a certain perspective, one that I believe that hasn't been represented in this assembly effectively, and one that I hope to present and advocate for here in student government.
All right. Representative Mosley has one more question available. Is there any other questions for Representative Mosley? Representative Balakrishnan.
Representative Balakrishnan, Business. My question is directed to both of you. In light of the questions that have been asked, I just want to ask both of you, what do the words diversity and inclusion specifically mean, and what actionable policies would you implement to address that in this assembly?
You want to go first? Ready?
Yes. Thank you, Representative, for that question of yours. To me, like coming from a minority town, which is Laredo, which is comprised of like 98% Hispanic community, I know firsthand the lack of inclusion that I felt at UT coming here, specifically being a PWI. So personally, I guess the words inclusion and diversity to me mean making everybody feel welcomed, making a space that not only accepts people, but is willing to hear their opinions, especially institutions like student government. Oftentimes, like to hear the voices of minority students, but aren't always actively engaging with them, which leads me to some of my initiatives. Like I mentioned in my speech and in my document that I emailed everybody here, Representative Cendric, Representative Getachew, and I plan on creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion caucus similar to Senate's committee. As a matter of fact, I think that it'll be valuable for us to reach out to Senate members who are already doing work, especially given that a lot of Senate members like former Representative Amanda Garcia are already doing work on the ground with student organizers and activists. So I definitely think that not only reaching out to these organizations, but so giving them tangible support is what is at the end of the day most important. Thank you. Sorry.
All right, Representative Mosley. Ready?
Yep. Awesome. It's a great question, really good question. You know, I do have a lot of experience when it comes to ensuring that cross-cultural communication sort of occurs and that we promote that type of environment. One, I am currently Vice President of International Relations Council. That is one of the biggest things that we do, ensuring that we hear the perspectives of various individuals and groups, not only here in the United States, but around the world. I've served with the State Department in Uruguay as a youth ambassador, hearing different perspectives, working with the State Department there, and really ensuring, one, that as a exchange program, I was able to, one, learn about the culture of that nation, and then subsequently bring it back and talk about my experience here in the United States. Now, something that I really want to ensure here in Student Assembly and working with those in Senate and GSA is ensuring that we create an environment where all voices are able to be heard, that where all opinions are able to be expressed, and really crafting an environment that allows for that type of environment. I think part of that has to do with putting on social events, making people really become friendly with one another and really get to know one another. And I 100% commit to working with individuals in Senate and in GSA to ensure that DEI policies are forwarded and overall creating an environment where all individuals are welcome to speak their mind, express their opinion, and yeah.
All right. The question and answer period has expired for Representative Mosley. Representative Tristan can take up to 3 questions left. Is there a question for Representative Tristan? Representative Getachew.
Representative Getachew, UI. You mentioned in your document that you would like to coordinate a student government collaboration week that is similar to Senate Community Week. Could you explain what the event will exactly look like?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
Ready?
Yes. For those of you who don't know, the Senate of College Councils is already doing a lot of work with student organizations and are actually being involved, unlike student government has been in the past. And so for those of you who don't know, they currently have a Senate Community Week, which basically just consists of the Senate of College Councils committees organizing with lesser known organizations to fundraise or advocate for their respective initiatives, policy changes, and events. So as a matter of fact, I actually helped Senate table with their community week a couple of weeks ago. I helped table with the student parent organization, which is basically just an organization that strives to amplify the voices of student parents on campus and their needs. And so I definitely think that it's time that student government takes similar action like Senate's Community Week, where we host some sort of collaborative event with other organizations. And I'd even invite student activists to be more involved so that we can truly understand and amplify the voices of students across campus.
Yeah, I'm missing myself. All right, the time has expired. Is there another question for Representative Tristan? All right, seeing none. The question and answer period has expired for both candidates, and we will now proceed with the vote. The acting clerk will call the roll.
Representative Adams,
Proudly voting for Tristan.
Representative Bailey, Representative Balakrishnan, Representative Banjara, Representative. Thank you. Representative Cannon, Representative Chiapetta, Representative Chiapetta, Representative Sindrick, Representative Klassen, Representative Gayatso, Representative Cotomanos, Representative Feinstein, Representative Fernandez, Representative Fearman, Representative Getachew, Representative Gonzalez, Representative Greenwald. You up? Representative Palamek, Representative Hayes,
Tristan,
thank you. Representative Hoshing, Representative Holman, Representative Jadel, Representative Sahil. Thank you. Representative McGill,
Tristan,
thank you. Representative Moore, Representative Mosley, Representative Pena, Representative Roberts.
Not voting.
Oh, yeah, I need to take you out of this. Representative Ryan, Representative Sanchez, Representative Sinetambi, Representative Tristan, Representative Turjaman, Representative Villanueva, Representative Weiss, Representative Whittington. Thank you.
All right, with there being 27 votes for Representative Tristan and 4 votes for Representative Mosley, Representative Tristan is the new Ethics and Oversight Chair. All right, y'all, we're halfway there, all right, we'll now begin with the nominations for the Financial Affairs Chair. Nominations are open. Is there any nomination for Financial Affairs Chair? Representative Holman.
Representative Holman, EY, I nominate Representative Balakrishnan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objection? Nope. Any other nominations? Is there a second? Okay. Any other nominations? Nominations for Financial Affairs Chair are now closed. Saying that Representative Balakrishnan was first, you will have 3 minutes to explain. Whenever you are ready.
Hey everyone, I know it's late, so I'm going to get right to the point. My name is Sareka. I'm a second-year marketing and government double major, and I'm a business representative. So SG gets a $114,000 budget every year, and in previous years, most of it has gone to waste. For some reason, orgs and agencies that receive appropriations have not been cashing in their credits. It's a really weird system where we don't give them cash directly, and I want to get to the bottom of why that's happening. If there's one thing you take away from my speech today, know that I want to see a $0 balance at the end of the account, at the end of the year, and make sure that our money gets back to the students, because that's why we get that money in the first place, to make sure that it's affecting real change for the students. Historically, the SG budget and appropriations have been determined quite arbitrarily. As Financial Affairs Chair, I want to put together a research subcommittee that brings in expertise from Macomb students and compile a report that analyzes past budget allocations, the orgs and agencies we give money to, the org size, quality of their proposals, how much money they were given, reasons for mismanagement of money within orgs, or why the money is not being used. I hypothesize that the reason for the loss of money is bureaucratic or logistical in nature, but we have to get our facts straight before we make any decisions. I want the budget bill to also elaborate more on the decision-making process so we avoid the arbitrary nature of appropriations. Maybe that's, basically just having like an extra line item on the budget that explains why we made that decision. If you look at the budget, it only has like 3 pages. It's really short. Another policy I want to implement is determining the budget on a semesterly basis. The current system makes no sense because most orgs at UT operate on a semesterly basis. I'm in a spirit group, we recruit every semester. And usually we don't really know what we're doing until after recruitment, which is like midway through the semester. And so it makes no sense that we ask orgs to tell us what they're spending money on months in advance before they even know what they're doing. So
change that to a semesterly basis. It will be a long constitutional amendment process, but we want to try to make that happen. Finally, I want to ensure that the financial committee meets bi-weekly. It hasn't in the past. It's met very infrequently because after the budget's decided, usually they don't really do anything else. They don't work on legislation. And I want to make sure that we're actually doing change. That's why we're here. I want to get shit done. So now for more boring stuff, I want to give you a quick rundown of my qualifications. Since last year, I've had the privilege of working for State Representative Jasmine Crockett as a legislative intern when we were in session. And now I'm her director of special projects. I've worked with many of you in the room as we've, passed bills. And one of the best things that I learned from there is that policy efficacy is my utmost priority, which basically means that we can't rush into anything in the decision-making process for policy without research and without data. On campus, I'm also an account manager for the Texas AMA Consulting Agency, where I actively manage a team of 5 in advising a local small business. I'm the bylaws chair for Texas Royals and have worked in 4 progressive political campaigns over the last 2 years. I promise to you today that my plethora of experience, technical skills as a business student, and passion for change and justice on campus make me the best candidate for financial affairs.
All right, the time has expired. Representative Clausen, whenever you are ready. Ready?
Yes, sir. All right. Well, hello, you all. I am Reese Clausen. I am business representative, and I'm here today running for financial affairs chair. So brief introduction. I was with the finance team last year. Through that, I was on various committees, the endowment board committee, endowment governing board, where we got to have the privilege of giving money in form of scholarships to 10 students. It was a great way of giving back. In addition, I was also on the financial affairs committee, and I saw and spoke with frequently Veronica Cantu, who's also, she's the main financial advisor for all of student government. She is very experienced, but she is who you need to talk to, especially when it comes to red tape. And that's the big issue with student government is there's red tape. And I know where that red tape is, and that lies with administration. But I have ties with administration, and I can speak with them on how to get things done. And with financial affairs chair, I will promote transparency, budget guidelines, and sending out clear examples of how the budgeting process will work to organizations so that the process runs smoothly. I worked with Robert Salkin last year, who was chair of the Financial Affairs Committee. With him, the process ran smoothly, and I was able to learn from him under his guidance. And that's why I'm running for Financial Affairs chair today. Thank you for your time.
All right, we will now move into question and answer for both candidates. Seeing that Representative Balakrishnan was first, we will accept up to 4 questions. Is there a question for the representative? Representative Adams.
The question for both, right?
Okay, that's good.
Last year, the budgetary process was basically a shit show, for lack of a better word. Critical agencies like Longhorn UMass were systemically excluded from accessing funding. And that was due to a lack of communication. The financial affairs director blamed the communications department, then the financial affairs chair blamed the chief of staff, and really a ton of dysfunction, basically. So what is your plan to resolve that dysfunction and really transform the committee from what it was last year?
Okay, so over the last 2 weeks, I've been meeting with a lot of people, including Robert Salkin, who was a great advisor in this process. And I've been meeting with a lot of you guys to get your opinions on what we can do for the budget. And one thing Robert made really clear to me that he regrets not doing more in his time as chair of the Financial Affairs Committee is, since he served before COVID and after COVID, the main difference he noted was that after COVID, a lot of orgs just don't know that we have a shit ton of money in our account that they can use. So we need to do a better job of, first of all, updating the website because it's not very accessible. We need to make sure that the process of applying to get money from us is more accessible to students. So that means advertising it better, getting the word out, whether that means reaching out specifically to orgs to let them know in the beginning of the year. I mean, we have access to Horns Link, so we could easily just send a mass email to org financial chairs and let them know that we have money for them. And then another thing is just making the process easier for everyone. So something that I think it was Representative Sindrick who suggested this to me, I could be wrong, but when I met, someone suggested instead of doing the form, in which people request money, it might be easier to just have an open forum during committee meetings where people and orgs can just come for like 5-10 minutes and we can have an open conversation about how much money they need, how we can optimize our budget for them. And, because a lot of things get lost in translation when you do the form. And if you've seen the form, it's not really effective. So that's something that I would want to implement, just making it an easier and more efficient process for everyone involved.
Representative Crossman, whenever you're ready. Ready?
Yes. Hi all. Yes, there was confusion as you noted last year. Really the way to get around it is not to ask for forgiveness later, but instead jump ahead and create clear guidelines on how stuff should be done. With that, you mentioned how various funds were underutilized. I did not see that in my time in financial affairs last year. Often there is extreme excess of demand. This lies within some student organizations requesting large amounts of funding, so that imbalances the request. I think we had about $26,000 for TITA last year and around $80,000 of requests. To alleviate this, we can set guidelines of maximum amount for student organizations, as well as, I completely agree, we do need to advertise more that we have money for student organizations. Please let me know if you have any more questions.
All right. There now is 3 questions remaining from Representative Balakrishnan. Is there any other question? Representative Moore.
Representative Moore, Communications, you both touched on transparency a little bit. I was just wondering on what specific initiatives that you actually had in mind to promote like transparency and not just say it to say, I want to promote transparency.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Sure. So what we can do is send out Zoom recordings of meeting procedures as requested. If the Assembly thinks it's wise, we could also post them under the finance section of the website to really show what our thought process behind things are, as well as creating a more open line of communication directly with student organizations. And that involves meeting directly during the deliberations process. So we would briefly have, say, a 5-minute meeting to discuss any problems or issues that we might see within their proposal and immediately iron out what we see that could come into conflict.
Right?
Yeah. So Representative Holman actually met with Veronica, I think it was earlier today. She did clarify that there was a major rollover in the budget from last year, which means that there was unused money. That information isn't really readily accessible to us as representatives. So I think there's a way we can work with Veronica to make sure that we're getting those financial reports in time, that we're informed of how much is really in the account, because there's no way for us to directly access that ourselves. Secondly, I want to clarify that I did introduce that policy to make sure that we have a clarification on every line item on the budget to make sure we know why we made the decision we did. A major factor that will help in that is my research subcommittee that I want to put together. If any of you have ever conducted a financial analysis, it's a very, very complex process. And that's why I want to another subset of increasing transparency is bringing in Macomb students. I want to echo what has been said tonight about UTSG historically being a very COLA dominated, very government major dominated organization. And as a Macomb student myself, I've heard from many other students that UTSG doesn't feel like the type of place where they can come and where they can participate. It's just a very liberal arts organization. And so I want to make a bridge between my major and UTSG by bringing in Macomb students who have the skills and expertise to make sure that this budget is exactly where it needs to be. And again, data transparency is my utmost priority. I don't make decisions without seeing what's really happening. So I don't make decisions plainly. So I want to share that with everyone as well. Thank you.
All right. Representative Balakrishnan has 2 more questions. Representative Holman.
So as financial affairs chair, how will you advocate to make sure the budget is used to benefit students? Will you support increasing wages, support a budget community working group, etc.? What are your thoughts?
So if any of you have been a student worker, I haven't, but I have many friends who are, they don't get paid a lot at all. There's no, the student minimum wage is very low, and the cost of living at UT, and especially in the city of Austin, if any of you pay rent in West Campus, you know how much of a hell it is. I definitely support making a increase, trying to increase the minimum wage. That would be more of my role as a business representative rather than as financial affairs chair. But as financial affairs chair, something that I could do and something that I would do is having a provision to create a scholarship for student workers. That hasn't been done in the past. And I think that a lot of low-income student workers can benefit from having that extra stipend of money to, sustain them in their everyday activities. And you mentioned the budget community working group, right? Yes, I met with President Murphy and Vice President Igabasi last week, and we discussed the budget community working group that they want to implement. It's very similar to what my research subcommittee will be, but there are some discrepancies in just logistics, so we'll see how that can work. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Representative Fox.
Right. Completely support increasing student wages. Unfortunately, we just do not have the money for that. The money required falls in line with SSBC, and that's what I will work with to promote and advocate for those student wage increases. In terms of creating a new scholarship, unfortunately, I had some experience trying to create a new scholarship last year, and the red tape around that would actually be about 4 to 5 years just to get a scholarship started. So instead, my initiative would be to work closely with SBC and advocate for those changes in student wages.
All right. Okay. Representative Balakrishnan has one more question available. Is there any other questions? Seeing none, the question and answer period has ended. Representative Clausen has one more question. Is there a question for Representative Clausen? Seeing none, the question period has ended as well. Both questions and answer period have expired for both candidates. We will now proceed with the roll call vote. The clerk will call roll.
Representative Adams.
Krishna.
Thank you. Representative Bailey. Representative Balakrishnan. Representative Banjara.
Austin.
Sorry?
Representative Reese Clausen.
Thank you. Representative Cannon. Representative Chiapetta. Representative Sindrick. Representative Klassen. Representative Coyatzo. Representative Cotomanos. Representative Feinstein. Representative Fernandez. Representative Fearman. Representative Getachew. Representative Gonzalez. Representative Greenwald. Representative Halamek. Representative Hayes.
Balakrishnan.
Representative Hoshing. Representative Holman. Representative Janelle. Representative Sahil.
Not here.
Representative McGill.
Balakrishnan.
Representative Moore. Representative Mosley. Representative Pena. Representative Roberts.
Not voting.
I'll get there eventually. Representative Ryan. Representative Sanchez. Representative Sinnathamby. Representative Dustan. Representative Turjaman. Representative Villanueva. Representative Weiss. Representative Whittington.
All right, by a vote of 23-8, Representative Balakrishnan is now the chair of the Financial Affairs Committee. All right, we will now move to,
Two more left.
yeah, only two more, y'all. We'll now move to the election for the Governmental Affairs Chair. The Speaker will now open nominations. Is there a nomination? Representative Holman.
Representative Holman, University Water Representative, and I nominate Brian Taylor.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is any other nominations? All right, nominations are closed. What?
Nothing, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, sorry. All right, we'll now move into the speech period. So you have 3 minutes. Yes, whenever you're ready. What?
You already got one?
It's Alex.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, stop. Keep it over. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, appreciate it.
Ready?
Yeah. Thank you everyone so much. I don't want to waste any or not take any more of your time. I really appreciate it. I just want to talk a little bit of my initiatives. My biggest thing is going to be elections. So right now, election turnout for this last primary that we had a few weeks ago, unfortunately, more people voted in the student government election than the actual primaries for Travis County. That is absolutely unacceptable. So my biggest initiatives are going to be, one, the amount of people that we have eligible to vote here at UT qualifies for far more than the 2 voting locations that we have now. In years past that we've had it in Greg Gym, the co-op, we have the PCL, FAC, and my biggest initiative is going to try to add one even in Jester, as many locations as possible to get as many people to the polls as possible. My second thing, the RAs. There are thousands of newly registered students, all of our freshmen, living in the dorms. If we can ensure that at least a handful of the RAs in each of the dorms are registered or volunteer deputy registrars, we can ensure that a lot more of those students get registered. Another big thing that I've been hopefully talking with Representative Bailey is the idea of making election day optional for students, almost like a holiday as it is. So we can ensure that students have the ability to go to the polls on election days. Another thing I know that we've already began to work on with President and Vice President-elect is moving the date of student government elections away from our actual elections. There are so many students that they will, you'll ask them, hey, have you voted yet? Yes, thinking that they just voted in the SG elections, not realizing there's an actual election. That is so, so important. Another one, our VDRs, there are countless of them throughout campus. Right now, we have no Dropbox. When we fill out those long forms, we have a very short 3 to 5 day, I could be wrong here, 3 or 5 days before they expire. So every single day, our VDRs have to drive all the way to the tax office, drop off our forms. If we can work with the county, I'm very close. I worked in the campaign for the incoming clerk, the Travis County clerk. If we can add a Dropbox for those long forms here on UT, that would make the lives of VDRs so much easier and incentivize them to register so much more people. Another one of my big efforts is working to support our student workers. I know a lot of us have talked about tonight. That is so, so important. They are the people, the backbone of UT. We need to start raising wages and encouraging student workers to unionize with state worker unions outside of UT. Ultimately, I look forward to working with every single one of you, and I appreciate your support.
Right. Okay, we'll now enter Q&A period. Is there a question for Representative Pena? Seeing none, we will close the Q&A period. We will now proceed with voting. We'll now proceed with voting for the new chair for governmental affairs. The speaker will entertain a request for unanimous consent if there is one. Representative Adams.
Representative Adams, Public Affairs, making a motion to approve the nomination of Representative Pena to Government Affairs Committee by unanimous consent.
Is there a second? Any objections? All right, no objections, so ordered. Congratulations, Representative Pena. All right, this is the last one. We'll now move forward with the election for the chair of student affairs. Nominations are now open. Is there any nominations? Representative Tristan.
Representative Easton, University Wide Representative, I nominate Kevin Dedekun to the chair of the Student Affairs Committee.
Is there a second? Seems. All right. Any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are closed. Representative Dedekun, you have 3 minutes to explain.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Helen Getachew. I'll start with, I would first like to congratulate everyone for their elections as representatives. I think it's a huge honor to just be elected by the student body, and would additionally like to congratulate the speaker and the rest of the elections of the Assembly Board. With that being said, howdy everyone. As I said earlier, my name is Helen Getachew. I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I'm currently serving as one of our U-wide representatives seeking to serve as our next chair of student affairs. I wanted to pursue this chairship because both of my interests and plans going into the Assembly as a representative, with many of the initiatives that I campaigned on relating to helping student issues on campus, and my past experiences and interests that have generally shaped my commitment to public service. I hope to use this to play a responsible, transparent, accessible, and compassionate role as both chair and a representative for the Assembly, as the student affairs is the essence of student government and deserves a chair that reflects that. As parliamentarian of our last Assembly, my role allowed me to become familiar with our governing documents and the general conduct and role this Assembly plays for student government. Over spring break, I had the honor to speak with our former student affairs chair of our last Assembly, Natalie Ward, where I was able to gain more insight on the typical functions of the committee, the role the chair plays in leading the committee, and gain both her approval and support in my decisions to run for this chairship. I envision a student affairs committee that is not only active in reviewing and revising legislation pertaining to student issues on campus, but also one that is active in directly assisting communities and organizations in their ground level work. That is why as chair, I intend on having our committee work closely with the other LSOs, as well as various student organizations on campus. I also plan on passing the initiative of assigning each representative to work with any philanthropic related student organization on campus. Of course, I plan on consulting you all on ways I can modify this initiative that would most benefit the various communities on campus, as well as the representatives in this assembly. But I believe this would not only increase representatives' presence on campus, but also use that presence to help amend the relationship student government has with the student body. Lastly, I plan on creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion caucus with Representative Tristan and Representative Cindric, so we're able to help diversify this assembly, but also complete initiatives that aid in this assembly becoming more equitable and amplify voices of various marginalized communities on campus. I gave out an outline to all of you guys earlier. It should have a more comprehensive list of my personal initiatives, my pledge as chair, and initiatives I plan on implementing as chair. And hopefully these experiences and my commitment show my commitment that I have in using this role as chair to give the student body what it deserves and reform the role student government has for the student body. With this all being said, I'm excited to be working with you all and have hopes that this assembly will be making large, effective, and tangible change across the 40 acres. Thank you.
All right, we'll now move into the Q&A period. Are there any questions for Representative Getachew?
It's in dying.
Oh,
That's all. Thank you.
okay. Are there any questions for Representative Getachew? All right, seeing none, the Q&A period has elapsed. The speaker will now entertain a request to confirm Representative Getachew as the chair by unanimous consent. Is there?
Can we do a roll call vote just so, like, for me, so I can feel seen? No, I'm just kidding.
Representative Whittington. Is there a second? Any objection? So ordered. Congratulations, Representative Getachew. You're now the chair of the Student Affairs Committee. All right. That is all the chair positions. We will move forward. Everything else should be brief. Okay. We will now move to our land acknowledgement. Amanda, did you want to read our land acknowledgement? Okay. Yeah, it just into this like thing. This that thing. Yeah.
Okay. Hello. Is Justin here? Am I projecting?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, sorry, I'm not used to this.
Okay.
Okay, hi, I am a former representative, current community advocate for Mayor for Senate. I started this thing last year with the land acknowledgement in assembly, which was something already implemented in Senate assembly. So for all of you new here, I'm just going to introduce why we do land acknowledgements. As the flagship institution in our state university system, it's important that the University of Texas at Austin demonstrates respect for the historic and contemporary presence of Indigenous peoples in Texas, and particularly in the greater Austin area in which we live in. To that end, it is incumbent upon UT Austin to recognize our campus resides on what are the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples who have been dispossessed of their homelands. Land acknowledgements are an expression of gratitude and appreciation to the Indigenous peoples, the traditional caretakers of this land, for the use of their lands on which we work, study, and learn, and in which y'all have your assembly meeting tonight. We would like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Indigenous land. Moreover, we would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Caribbean Kikuyu, Huwitekan, Kalo, Kankawa, Comanche, Apache, Alabama, Kushara, Kickapoo, Tiwa Pueblo, and all the American Indigenous peoples and communities who have become part of these lands and territories in Texas here on Turtle Island. I'd like to say that if you would like to continue this tradition, although not in assembly anymore, if you would like to designate someone to read land acknowledgements, that'd be amazing. It could be a speaker, it could be anyone really. Although I would like to give a teach-in to all of you to fully understand why we do land acknowledgements, the importance of it, so it's not just a performative act of recognition, and everyone can truly understand like the history and meaning behind it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
So we don't have any new business unless y'all have anything. Okay, we don't have any old business, so move forward. Okay. We'll now move on to ex officio reports. Anyone from Senate or GSA want to speak?
Protect the president.
All right. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is, Hey. My name is Alex Sexton. I'm the president of the Graduate Student Assembly, and I have one main thing that I need to bring to your attention tonight. This is something that was passed by the Graduate Student Assembly in the fall, and it was supposed to have been brought into student government's attention due to a variety of circumstances. It is not guaranteed it was brought to student government's attention, so I'm doing that now. The Graduate Student Assembly in the fall passed Graduate Resolution 2021 F03, which officially requested that student government end its representation of graduate students. At this time, there are 3 legislative student organizations at UT, GSA, Senate, and SG. Out of all of those 3 of them, GSA is the smallest. We represent graduate students in academics, student affairs, and policy. Senate is academics and policy, and SG is everything else. And SG is the largest one. And with the recent permanent termination of joint resolutions here, and the explicit acknowledgement by the Dean of Students Office that student government is the prime legislative student organization, SG is now in an opportunity, is it now in a place to overrule GSA. Leland is in the place to overrule us.
That will not happen.
I know it won't, but theoretically it still can happen. So we are requesting that student government gently cede graduate students to us, and that Senate be the only LSO that maintains representation of both groups on campus. We don't have any kind of ill will against student government. Y'all have your own issues and you're a majority undergraduate anyway, so it's not like we're upset. It's kind of like what already happens anyway, so we don't think it'd be a super disruptive change. That's that. And then the other thing, the GSA is passing a resolution to request that the university create a holiday for Election Day. The 2 kinds of holidays that we can do at UT are full holidays where the university is closed, or we can do instructional holidays where classes are not held. If we do an instructional holiday, we have to pull a day from somewhere else in the academic calendar. So if y'all want to continue school one more day than would be otherwise, That's one way you could do it, or take a day out of spring break or whatever. That was a hypothetical. No one wants to do that. I hope. Please don't. God help. And then the last thing, this is something that GSA talked a little bit to Senate about, and this is something just to put it on y'all's radar. We are going to make an attempt to create a subsidy for student parents here. Childcare is expensive. And I don't know about the other LSOs, but I can tell you that GSA, we did not touch over half of our budget. So mayhaps we could use budget surpluses to put into a fund for financial aid to distribute to student parents as needed. I don't know, I'm not a radical. So crazy, I know, for the university to do things for students. Absolutely wild. But that's it.
I'm Senate.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Seth Munoz. I usually hear pronouns. I am currently serving as the Vice President for the Senate of College Councils. Updates 2 weeks ago, so March, what was the time? I don't know. So before the Thursday before spring break, we had our elections, and our next vice president is sitting over there. It's Samika Rizvi. And then our president, sorry. Our president is Echo Nettinger. They're both random contested, but they are very highly qualified individuals. And I hope that the next you all will be representing the student body. So I hope that you all connect with Senate and work together when it comes to academic affairs and anything else. I know that a lot of y'all mentioned and name drop Senate. So I really do hope that you carry out your promises because we do have a lot to learn from each other, not just you from us, but from each other. But yeah, we also have assembly on Thursday. We are still passing legislation up until April 7th. So yeah, visit us if you want to see how we run. But that's it. Thank you.
Any other ex officio? All right, moving along. Executive board reports. Vice President first.
Sure. We'll just do a joint little thing. Hi, everyone. Good to meet a lot of you in person and see you all. Isabel and I are super excited to work with all of y'all this year and really advocate for students and their needs and, take on admin and hold admin accountable as need be. And we really want to build this relationship better between Assembly and the executive branch that has been in the past. So super excited to work with all of y'all. So just another one, congrats to everyone. Just a couple things. If you have not already, make sure to join our Slack. And if you don't have the link, I believe I sent an email before spring break, but just do that right now. And if you don't know how to, just come talk to myself and I can get you added to that. Other things, our executive branch apps should be opening soon. We're still working with the previous admin to get the executive board application from last year and update that and then send that out. But hopefully within the next week, we'll be able to get those out as well as other transition things. And then one thing that we have already started doing on our personal accounts is weekly recaps. And do you want to talk a little more about the weekly recaps?
Yeah, so basically, just trying to make sure we're actually following through on being transparent. Want to make sure that there's no closed door meetings, and whenever we meet with any of you or anyone outside of student government, that the student body can see what we're doing. So if there's oversight anywhere we can improve, that students can see that and know and be able to let us know about that. So that's something that we're going to implement every single week. Yeah.
Yeah. And our first one has been posted both on our. Right now, we're still using our campaign Twitter because again, we don't have access to the actual SG accounts, but hopefully we'll get those soon. But it's on our campaign Twitter, and then we also just posted an Instagram story with that weekly recap document. And we can also send it in the Slack. I may have sent it already, but if not, I can send that in there as well. And then just the last little thing is kind of as mentioned during the financial affairs thing, we're hoping to, in the process of creating the budget, have a budget community working group because in the past it's been a process that's very much just kept within the LSOs and within SG. And we really want to open that up this year, hear what students truly want the budget to go towards. Obviously, we want it to go towards a lot more things that are
actually benefiting material needs such as donations towards UT Outpost, the Student Emergency Fund. But of course, we want to get students' actual input. So within the next week, we're going to put out like not really an application, but kind of just a thing to gauge interest, both from assembly members, our executive board and executive board people, and then the student body as a whole, to kind of compose that working group, which will be open even after like it's kind of been made, because it'll just be an open thing. And that's what we want to use to start working on that budget immediately, so they can truly center student needs and helping out marginalized communities on campus. And we want that process to be open. So that will also give consistent updates to Assembly. And we really want it to be not just an executive board initiative, but truly like an SG thing where we're really all working together and getting students involved and helping to serve students, which is what we're all here to do. So yeah, that's all from us for now. But thank you all so much, and looking forward again to working with all of you.
But yeah, and I just want to add that like if there's anything that you like want us to know and want to make sure that we're doing, and anything you want to like talk to us about, like policy wise, like talk something like please like Slack us, text us, like reach out to us. Want to make sure that like he was saying, it's not like we're working together like with the branches, and it's not like super separative. There's no hierarchical anything, like horizontal. We're all like helping each other make sure that we're actually doing what this body is meant to do. So like, please reach out to us if you have anything that you want us to know or bring to our attention or anything of that matter. We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with reaching out to us. So that's it.
All right. All right, moving on to Assembly Board reports. This is the UT Mental Health resources that you can refer to. I will put this in the Slack somehow for y'all. All right. We did get rid of like speaker reports and all the chairs. We don't really have much, but I will just say as speaker, I'm going to carry out the first promise, which is to create an Assembly Twitter and social media account. I talked with them about this. This is something we're going to do. I think it's time that we get that done. So we will have that done by tonight. Congratulations to all the chairs. I'm looking forward to working with y'all. As representatives, I'm also looking forward to working with y'all, all of y'all. I think I've spoken with over 20 of y'all. And so I'm looking forward to carrying out some of your initiatives and helping you get them to administration, and so we can get some good change. Any announcements?
One other thing, if you were elected to the Assembly Board, just stay after for a quick, just like so we can all talk for just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Social media and marketing committee who say one member at a time and say, hi, I'm Tracy, I'm Alice, and I like, I don't know, are you looking to start a committee?
As of right now, the intent was to follow what was put in AB 13, which was to give it to the Assembly Board. But if the Assembly Board is definitely okay with giving it to a team, which we'll consult with them, we can definitely do that. And we can talk further. I would love to speak with you further about it. Okay. Any other announcements?
And also, whenever we get whenever we're able to open an app so that we can get our executive board and have a communications director, we definitely want to work with y'all to make sure that we can use the SG account and make sure everything that y'all want the student body to know is amplified through all our social media.
All right. Any other announcements? Yes.
So one of my other things was allow, I mean, you does this stipend. Those students administrations to also that go to like she's talking to HB.
All right. Yes, Representative Sanchez.
where I current address, just reach out, or I work with Joel Action. Yeah, I need to register.
All right. Any other announcements? All right. We'll now do the second roll call. Well. Yes.
You wanted me to do it? Or do I do it?
I mean,
Oh, I put it away.
I can do it. Okay.
We'll try and make this quick.
yeah,
Where do I write this?
yeah, just here.
Okay. Representative.
Write another piece.
Okay. Representative Adams. Here. Representative Bailey. Here. Representative Balakrishnan. Representative Banjara.
Here.
Representative Cannon. Representative Chiapetta. Representative Cindric. Representative Klassen. Representative Toyato. Representative Cotamanos. Representative Feinstein. Representative Fernandez. Representative Fairman. Representative Gitachu. Representative Gonzalez. Representative Greenwald.
Why do we get the
Representative Palamet. Representative Hayes.
Here.
Representative Hosting. Representative Holman. Representative Goodell. Representative Sahil. Representative McGill.
Here.
Representative Moore. Representative Mosley. Representative Roberts.
Here.
Representative Representative Pena. Representative Ryan. Representative Sanchez. Representative Sinnathamby. Representative Tristan. Representative Turgeman. Representative Villanueva. Representative Weiss. Representative Whittington.
All right.
We're good.
Skip that.
No.
All right. The chair recommends a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Any objection? We are adjourned.
Assembly board, come up to the front.
Yes, assembly board, come to the front.
Good night, everyone.
Walker.
It was like to freedom.
I heard that. No, I was like, because I usually like.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned. I'm gonna close the Zoom. Thank you and have a safe night.